Hello everyone, I'm Shalini Singh, Assistant Professor of BCom Departments at GemTech Greater Noida. Today, we are going to study about the Negotiable Instrument Act. As we can see, the Negotiable Instrument Act, it was drafted in 1866 by the Indian Law Commission and was introduced in December 1867. It was later redrafted in 1877, and in 1880, by the order of the Secretary of the State, the bill had to be referred to a new law commission. And on the recommendation of new law commission, the bill was redrafted and sent to the selected committee. And it was further passed into 1881. Then a Negotiable Instrument Act 1881 came into force, and the Act number 26 of 81. It was the Act number 26 of the 1881. And its date of commencement was 1st March 1882. So as we can see, the negotiable instrument, what it means, it's a document of a certain type which is used in a commercial transaction and money dealings. That is why we call it as a negotiable instrument. Negotiable means transferable by delivery, and instrument means it's a written document by which a right is created in favor of some person. Thus, a negotiable instrument means a document transferable by delivery. A Negotiable Instrument Act 1881, it states that according to section 13 subsection 1, it's an instrument, a negotiable instrument. It means a promissory note, a bill of exchange, or a check payable either to order or to the bearer. In India, only three kinds of instruments are recognized as negotiable instrument, that is the promissory note and bill of exchange and the checks. Now comes the few features of Negotiable Instrument Act. Now comes the features or the characteristics of negotiable instrument. So the first feature is freely transferable. So the property in a negotiable instrument, it passes from one person to another by delivery. If the instrument is payable to the bearer, and by endorsement and delivery, it is payable if it is payable to order. Second, title of the holder is free from all defects. A person taking an instrument bona fide and for value gets the instrument free from all defects in the title of the transferor. He is not in any way affected by any defect in the title of the transferor or any prior party. Number 3, presumptions. It is presumed by the law that every negotiable instrument is made or drawn for a consideration, but it is not an irrefutable presumption. It must be refuted by proof that the instrument has been obtained from its lawful owner by the means of fraud or undue influence or the unlawful consideration. The onus of the proof is the one person who challenges the existence of the consideration. And number 4, recovery. A person taking an instrument bona fide and for value can sue upon a negotiable instrument in his own name or for the recovery of the amount. Next comes our types of negotiable instrument. There are two types of negotiable instrument. Number 1 is instrument negotiated by statute. Number 2, instrument negotiable by custom or usage. So number 1 says it's the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881 mentions only 3 kinds of negotiable instrument. That is promissory note, bill of exchange, and check. These instruments are negotiable by statute. Number 2, instruments negotiable by the custom or usage. There are certain other instruments which have acquired the characteristics of negotiability by the usage or the custom of the trade. In India, the government promissory note, bankers, drafts, pay order, hundis, delivery orders, and railway receipts for the goods have been held to be negotiable by the usage or by the custom. Next comes a promissory note. The number one, first negotiable instrument, that is the promissory note. It's an instrument in writing, not being a bank note or a currency note. It contains an unconditional undertaking signed by the maker to pay a certain sum of money only to or to order of a certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. According to section 4. The parties involved in the promissory notes are maker, payee, holder, endorser, and endorsee. A maker is the person who makes a promissory note and promises to pay is called the maker. A payee, the person to whom the payment is to be made, is called the payee. And holder, the holder is either the payee or someone to whom he may have endorsed or transferred the note is known as the holder. Endorser is the person who endorses the note to another is called the endorser. And endorsee is the person to whose favor the note is endorsed is the endorsee. Now, the essential elements of a promissory note are, number one, the instrument must be in writing. That is, the promissory note should be in a written content. The content should be written. Number two, it has an express undertaking, right? It must be signed by the maker of it. The signature or the mark may be placed anywhere on the instrument, not necessarily at the bottom. It may be at the top or at the back. So acknowledgement is very much. Thirdly, it is a unconditional promise. The promise to pay must be unconditional. If it is coupled with a condition, it is not a promissory note, right? So the promissory note is a unconditional promise. We cannot quote any condition on promissory note. Number three, specific amount. Whenever a promissory note is drawn, it is drawn for a consideration. So a certain sum of money is being quoted on it. Specific amount is mentioned on the promissory note. Number 5, it is a legal tender. So it is a kind of a legal tender, like if we have, for example, Mr. A and Mr. B. A is the customer and B is the retailer, B is a shopkeeper, and if A purchases goods from B, and at that time the A does not have enough cash to pay to B, and he promises him to pay that amount later on. In this case, the B draws a promissory note and A signs on it, and A promises to pay to B that the amount which is due right now he'll pay in the future time. So it is a legal tender. Now, this is the sample of the promissory note, in which date, amount, and the promise consideration is given, the sum of the money is given, the order of the company, the drawer's name is given here. So each and every information is placed on the promissory note. This is the sample. Next comes our bill of exchange. So bill of exchange, it's an instrument in writing containing an unconditional order signed by the maker directing a certain person to pay a certain sum of money only to or to the order of a certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. This definition has been defined under section 5 of the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881. So the basic essential features of bill of exchange are, it is also given in writing. It contains an unconditional order, as previously discussed in promissory note also. So bill of exchange is also an unconditional order to pay money only or not merely a request. It is also signed, it must be signed by the drawer. The parties must be certain, they must be aware of the information written on the bill of exchange. The sum payable must also be certain. The amount which has to be paid, that must also be very specific and certain. And it must comply all the formalities, for example, stamp stamp should be there, date, etc. Each and everything should be there. So this is the sample of bill of exchange. Now the parties involved in bill of exchange are the drawer, drawee, and the payee. So the drawer is a person who makes the bill of exchange, and the person who is directed to pay is called the drawee. For example, A and B. So B is the drawer and A is the drawee. And the person who will receive the money is called the payee. So B is the payee also. When the payee has a custody of the bill, he is called the holder also. So since B has the custody of that bill, so he is the holder. It is the holder's duty to present the bill to the drawee for acceptance. The drawee becomes the acceptor after signing on the bill. So drawee, like A, the person who has taken the credit, who has to pay the loan to B, that A person is the acceptor and he is the drawee. Sometimes the name of another person is mentioned as the person who will accept the bill if the original drawee does not accept it. So such a person is called the drawee in case of need. So if drawee is not available for payment, then in that case, any third person authorized by the drawee can come for that acceptance, and that person is called the drawee in case of need. Next comes the difference between the promissory note and bill of exchange. So promissory note, as we can see, the promissory note is a promise, it contains a promise, and bill of exchange also, it contains an order. So promissory note is a kind of a promise, but bill of exchange is a order. And promissory note, it is presented for the payment without any previous acceptance by the maker. So if A and B are there, A has promised to B to pay that amount, but it is not necessary that A has to sign that promissory note. If he has said that he'll pay, then he will surely pay because it's a promise. But in case of bill, it is most important, it is mandatory that the drawee must accept that bill of exchange has been drawn. So it is required to be accepted either by the drawee or by someone else on his behalf before it can be presented for the payment. Number 3, it cannot be made payable to the maker himself. The maker and the payee cannot be the same person. So maker and the payee cannot be the same person in case of promissory note. But in case of bill of exchange, the drawer and the payee, or the drawee and the payee, may be the same person. The drawer and payee can be the same person, and drawee and the payee can also be the same person. For example, A is a person who himself has a shop, but when he purchases a goods from himself and he has not paid that amount in his shop, then he can be the drawee and he can be the payee also. In case of promissory note, there are only two parties, the maker and the payee, and in case of bill of exchange, there are three parties, drawer, drawee, and the payee. A promissory note can never be conditional, and bill of exchange cannot be conditional, but it can be accepted conditionally without the consent of the holder. So there is a chances of conditionality in case of bill of exchange. In case of dishonor, no notice of dishonor is required to be given by the holder in case of promissory note. But in case of bills of exchange, a notice of dishonor must be given in case of dishonor of the bill of exchange. And the last one, it contains a promise to pay, and bill of exchange, it contains an order to pay. So this is the basic difference between the promissory note and bill of exchange. Next comes check. A check, it is defined under Section 6 of Negotiable Instrument Act, that what a check means. According to this provision, a check is basically a bill of exchange drawn on a specific banker. Furthermore, it is not payable otherwise than on demand. So essential features of a check are, it is always drawn on a holder or on a banker. Sorry, it is always drawn on a banker only. It is always payable on demand. It does not require acceptance. There is, however, a custom among banks to mark checks as good for purpose of clearance. A check can be drawn on bank where the drawer has an account. Checks may be payable to the drawer himself. It may be made payable to the bearer on demand, unlike a bill of exchange. The banker is liable only to the drawer. The holder has no remedy against the banker if a check is dishonored. A check is usually valid for 6 months. It's written fixed, sorry. It is valid for only 6 months. However, it is not invalid if it is post-dated or antedated. No stamp is required to be affixed on the checks. Next is types of check. So there comes types of check. Number one is open check and other one is the cross check. There are two types of check, open check and cross check. So an open check is one which is payable in cash across the counter of the bank. So it's a check which is the bearer, it is a bearer check. It is payable over the counter on presentment by the payee to the pay banker, while a cross check is not payable over the counter. A cross check is one which has two short parallel lines marked across its face. It can be paid only in another bank. So the advantage of crossing is that it reduces the danger of unauthorized persons getting possession of the check and cashing it. And secondly, the cross check can only be cashed through a bank of which the payee of the check is a customer. So now comes types of cross check. So cross checks are of three types: general crossing, special crossing, and two types only: general crossing and special crossing. It is also called as restrictive crossing. Now, next types of crossing. So general crossing means it is a simple method of crossing it where we draw two parallel lines across the face of the check. This is called the general crossing. A check cross generally will be paid to any bank through which it is presented. Now, a special crossing. When the name of the bank is written in between the parallel lines, it is called the special crossing. And restrictive crossing, it directs the collecting banker that it needs to credit the amount of check only to the account of the pay. So crossing is an instruction to the pay banker to pay the amount of check to a particular banker and not over the counter. The crossing of the check secures the payment to the banker, and it also traces the person so receiving the amount of check. Addition to it, word not negotiable account pays only is necessary to restrain the negotiability of the check. Okay, now, so this was the crossing of the check. That's all for it. Thank you.